The ocean doesn't look like debt. At dawn, it glows like molten copper, slow waves rolling toward an empty horizon. Seabirds drift above it, weightless, unconcerned with balance sheets or budgets. From the shore, the world feels simple. Breath, wind, water, light. And yet, beneath that calm surface lies a hidden architecture that touches every life on Earth. Debt. Not the kind that arrives in a bill, stamped and threatening, but something far larger. An invisible web of promises that binds nations together like tides. Every country on this planet is in debt. The United States owes more than $38 trillion, a number so vast it stops being human and becomes cosmic. The European Union carries around 14 trillion. Japan nearly 9 trillion. Even oil-rich kingdoms and manufacturing superpowers, the places we imagine as wealthy, are deep underwater in borrowed money. Walk through a city at night and you can feel it without seeing it. Lights flicker, trains move, hospitals hum, markets breathe. All of it is powered by money that once existed only as a promise. So here's the question that sits like a stone in your chest. If everyone owes, who are we actually in debt to? Imagine a crowded room where every person has borrowed money from the next. A circle of outstretched hands, each one clutching an IOU. No one is free, yet no one is truly trapped. The tension holds them together. That is our world. Debt isn't just a burden. It is the scaffolding of modern civilization. Quiet, omnipresent, and deeply political. Wars have been fought over it. Empires have risen because of it. Nations have collapsed beneath its weight. To understand it, we have to travel back before credit cards, before stock markets, before computers, to a damp, candlelit room in 17th century England. It is 1694. London smells of smoke, rain, and gunpowder. England is at war with France. Bleeding gold it does not have. The king faces a choice: surrender or borrow. So he turns not to soldiers, but to merchants. They agree to lend him money, not once, but forever, in exchange for steady interest paid by future taxpayers who do not yet exist. Out of that deal, the Bank of England is born. With it comes something revolutionary: the government bond, a piece of paper that turns trust into currency, a promise that can be bought, sold, and traded like gold. In that moment, power changes shape. Empires no longer need to conquer only with swords. They can conquer with credit. France copies the model. The Netherlands refines it. A young United States uses it to finance its revolution, then its expansion westward. Debt stops being a confession of weakness. It becomes a badge of legitimacy. The battlefield becomes the balance sheet. 3 centuries later, the world is drowning in more than $315 trillion of total debt, nearly 3 times the size of everything humans produce in a year. Stand on a busy street and think about that. Every building, every paycheck, every hospital bed, every road, every school exists inside that vast ocean of borrowed money. Yet here is the twist no one tells you. Most of this debt isn't owed to some distant villain. It is owed to ourselves. Take the United States. We are told it is in debt to China, as if a single nation holds America by the throat. But the reality is quieter and stranger. Out of that $38 trillion, only about a third is held by foreign countries. China owns roughly 2% of the total. The rest is held by American banks, pension funds, mutual funds, insurance companies, and even the Federal Reserve itself. The government issues bonds. Banks buy them. The central bank buys some back, creating new money. Taxes are collected, interest is paid. And much of that interest flows back into American retirement accounts. It is a mirror that reflects itself. Zoom out and the pattern repeats everywhere. Japan lends to the United States through treasury bonds. The US lends to Europe through global institutions. Europe lends to developing nations. Those nations then store their wealth back in Western bonds. It is a planetary game of hot potato, except the potato is made of promises. Every country holds someone else's debt. Every promise rests on another promise. No one is fully free, and no one is fully in control. Behind this delicate dance sits a shadowy constellation of power. Hedge funds moving billions with a keystroke. Pension funds protecting the futures of millions. Sovereign wealth funds steering the destiny of entire regions. And at the center, central banks, calm and omnipotent. When they speak, markets tremble. When they buy bonds, money is born out of nothing but belief. This is the most unsettling truth of modern finance. Every dollar in your pocket represents someone else's debt. Money is not freedom from obligation. It is a written promise that someone, somewhere, will carry the burden. And when that promise cracks, the consequences are devastating. In 2010, Greece wakes up to a nightmare. Its debt has become unpayable. Bond prices collapse. Interest rates spike like a fever. The European Union and the International Monetary Fund step in, not as saviors, but as strict parents. Austerity arrives like winter. Hospitals cut staff. Pensions shrink. Young people leave the country in search of a future. Entire communities hollow out. A nation learns that debt is not abstract. It is lived, felt, and suffered. In Argentina, defaults repeat like a curse across decades. Currency collapses wipe out savings overnight. Trust erodes between citizens and their own government. In Sri Lanka, shelves empty, fuel runs dry, and families wait in endless lines because a government can no longer pay its foreign loans. In each case, the system reveals itself, cold, impartial, and relentless. Yet even after catastrophe, the machine does not die. Old debts are restructured, new loans are issued. The same logic returns with a different name, because in the 21st century, debt was never meant to disappear. It was meant to roll forward. Governments do not plan to pay off their debt the way you or I would pay off a mortgage. They refinance it again and again, like a subscription that never ends. Interest becomes the real product. Stability becomes the rent. The United States will never erase its $38 trillion of debt. It will simply renew it forever. Japan has lived with debt exceeding 250% of its entire economy for decades, yet investors still line up to buy its bonds. Why? Because government debt is not treated like a problem. It is treated like the safest asset in existence. Banks use it as collateral. Pension funds depend on it. Central banks treat it like money itself. If America suddenly paid off every dollar it owed, the global financial system would panic, not celebrate, because the world would lose its most trusted financial foundation. So instead, governments keep issuing debt in steady rhythm. It becomes the heartbeat of capitalism, pulse after pulse, promise after promise. But beneath this elegance lies a moral tension. When we say we owe it to ourselves, we ignore something crucial. Interest payments do not flow equally. They flow upward, from workers who pay taxes to institutions that hold bonds, from families struggling with rent to investors who grow richer from government guarantees. Debt is not just a transfer between countries. It is a transfer between classes. Global inequality rises in step with global indebtedness. Creditors are not monsters. Debtors are not saints. They are two gears in the same engine, grinding, turning, unstoppable. And the engine runs on one fragile substance: trust. As long as people believe governments will honor their promises, the numbers can stretch into infinity. But if belief fades, the illusion collapses. Currencies fall. Interest rates explode. Economies shudder. Lives are upended. In that moment, debt stops being a spreadsheet and becomes something deeply human, a broken promise between generations. So here is the final paradox. Debt was once a chain. Today, it is the balance that keeps the world upright. We live inside a system that depends on never fully settling its accounts, because doing so would shatter the very foundation of global finance. We are all debtors. We are all creditors. We are all trapped together in a vast circle of trust that none of us fully controls. Stand again by the ocean. Watch the waves rise and fall, endless and rhythmic. That is what global debt feels like. Beautiful, terrifying, inevitable. A tide that lifts cities and drowns nations. A promise that binds us and betrays us. And when you look at your own life, your paycheck, your mortgage, your savings, your retirement, remember this. You are not just living in an economy. You are living inside a promise that spans centuries. If that promise holds, the world keeps spinning. If it breaks, everything changes. And that is the story of modern debt. Not a story of numbers, but of power, belief, and human fate. If this made you see the world differently, don't just scroll past it. Subscribe. Because history didn't end yesterday. It is unfolding right now. And I'll take you deeper into the forces shaping our future.